What if a single letter could unravel the secrets of your entire life? When Emily Parker found a mysterious note under her doorstep, she had no idea it would lead her to a truth beyond imagination. A truth about her father, a war between worlds, and a power she never knew she possessed. But with great power comes a terrible price. This is the story of I Taught Her Human Dreams. She Taught Me Alien Nightmares. A journey that will take you to the edge of reality and beyond. Story begins as, it was a quiet Tuesday morning when Emily Parker found the letter tucked under her doorstep, a letter addressed to her, but with no return address. The handwriting was shaky, almost desperate, and the words inside would change everything she thought she knew about her family. Little did she know, this was only the beginning of a mystery that would unravel secrets buried for decades. Emily, a 28-year-old graphic designer with a penchant for vintage fashion, picked up the letter with trembling hands. Her auburn hair caught the morning sun as she unfolded the paper. The message was short but chilling. Asterisk, meet me at the old oak tree in Miller's Park at midnight. Come alone. A friend. Asterisk, her heart raced. Who could have sent this? And why? Emily had no enemies, no secrets, or so she thought. The old oak tree in Miller's Park was a place she hadn't visited since childhood. It was where her father used to take her for picnics before he disappeared without a trace 10 years ago. The memory of those days still lingered in her mind like a faded photograph. Her father's laughter, the way he'd point out birds and tell her their names, the warmth of his hand in hers. But all of that had vanished the day he left, leaving behind only questions and a hollow ache in her chest. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. By 11:30 p.m., she grabbed her coat and sneaked out of her apartment. The park was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that makes your skin crawl. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the grass. As she approached the oak tree, she saw a figure standing in the shadows. The person stepped into the moonlight, revealing a face that made Emily's breath catch in her throat. It was her father. "Dad," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. "Where have you been? We thought you were dead." David Parker looked older, his once dark hair now streaked with gray. His eyes, though, were the same, sharp and kind, but now filled with something else. Fear. He glanced around nervously, as if expecting someone, or something, to appear at any moment. "Emily, I don't have much time," he said, his voice low and urgent. "I need you to listen carefully. What I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but it's the truth." He handed her a small, metallic device that looked like a cross between a watch and a compass. It was cool to the touch, its surface etched with strange symbols that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. "This is a quantum communicator," David explained. "It's how I've been able to stay hidden. I'm not just your father, Emily. I'm from another world." Emily stared at him, her mind racing. "What are you talking about?" "Another world," David sighed, his shoulders slumping as if the weight of his secret was too much to bear. "I'm not from Earth. I was sent here years ago on a mission, but I fell in love with your mother and decided to stay. But now they've found me. And if they find you," before he could finish, a strange humming sound filled the air. David's eyes widened, and he grabbed Emily's shoulders, his grip firm but gentle. "They're here. Emily, take this and run. Don't look back." A blinding light erupted from the sky, and Emily felt a force pulling her away. She stumbled backward, clutching the quantum communicator, as her father was engulfed in the light. When it faded, he was gone. Emily stood there, her heart pounding, the device in her hand humming softly. She didn't know what to think, what to believe. But one thing was certain, her life would never be the same again. Emily ran home, her heart pounding so hard it felt like it might burst out her chest. The streets were empty, the only sound the echo of her footsteps against the pavement. She clutched the quantum communicator tightly, its strange symbols glowing faintly in the dark. Her mind was a whirlwind of questions. Was her father really an alien? What was this device? And who were they? The questions swirled in her head like a storm, but there were no answers, only the cold, hard reality that her father had vanished again, this time in a flash of light. When she finally reached her apartment, she locked the door behind her and leaned against it, trying to catch her breath. The quantum communicator buzzed softly in her hand, its screen flickering to life. A holographic map appeared, displaying a blinking dot in the middle of a desert about 200 miles away. Emily stared at it, her confusion deepening. What was out there? And why was it calling to her? She paced the room, her thoughts racing. Part of her wanted to ignore it, to pretend none of this had happened. But another part, the part that had spent 10 years wondering what happened to her father, knew she couldn't. She had to find out the truth, no matter how strange or terrifying it might be. Emily packed a bag with essentials, a flashlight, a water bottle, a jacket, and a few snacks. She hesitated for a moment, then grabbed her laptop and a portable charger. If this device was some kind of advanced technology, maybe she could figure out how it worked. She slipped the quantum communicator into her pocket, its weight a constant reminder of the mystery she was about to dive into. The drive was long and lonely, the desert stretching out in all directions like an endless sea of sand. The sun rose slowly, casting an orange glow over the landscape. Emily kept glancing at the quantum communicator, its blinking dot growing closer with every mile. Her mind wandered back to her father's words. Asterisk, I'm from another world. Asterisk, it sounded impossible, but the evidence was right there in her hand. She thought about her childhood, about the stories her father used to tell her, stories about stars and distant galaxies. Had he been trying to tell her the truth all along? As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Emily reached the coordinates on the map. It was an abandoned gas station, its windows broken and its sign hanging crookedly. The place looked like it hadn't been used in decades. She stepped out of the car, the heat of the desert pressing down on her. The quantum communicator buzzed again, its screen flashing with a new message. Asterisk, enter. Asterisk, Emily hesitated, her hand hovering over the door handle. What was she walking into? She took a deep breath and pushed the door open, the hinges creaking loudly. Inside, the gas station was dark and dusty, the air thick with the smell of old oil and decay. In the corner stood a jukebox, its surface covered in a layer of grime. As Emily approached it, the jukebox suddenly lit up, its buttons glowing with an otherworldly light. A voice, soft and melodic, filled the room. Welcome, Emily Parker. You have been chosen. Emily froze, her heart skipping a beat. Chosen for what? The voice continued. You hold the key to a war that has been raging for centuries, a war between worlds. Your father was a brave soldier, but his time has passed. Now it is your turn. Emily's head spun. I don't understand. What war? What key? The jukebox's screen flickered, showing images of strange, otherworldly landscapes and creatures. Your father was part of a resistance fighting against the Dominion, a powerful empire that seeks to control all dimensions. The quantum communicator you hold is the only device capable of stopping them. Emily sat down on a dusty stool, overwhelmed. Why me? I'm just a graphic designer. I don't know anything about wars or dimensions. The voice softened, almost sympathetic. You're more than you know, Emily. Your father's blood runs through your veins, and with it, the power to change the fate of countless worlds. But you must act quickly. The Dominion is already here. As if on cue, the ground shook and the sound of engines roared outside. Emily peeked through the window and saw a massive, metallic ship descending from the sky. Her stomach dropped. The ship was unlike anything she had ever seen, sleek and menacing, with glowing blue lights along its edges. The quantum communicator buzzed urgently in her hand, its screen flashing a warning. Asterisk, danger. Evacuate immediately. Asterisk, Emily didn't need to be told twice. She grabbed her bag and ran out the back door, just as the ship's doors opened and strange, armored figures emerged. They moved with an unnatural precision, their glowing eyes scanning the area. Emily's heart raced as she sprinted across the desert, the quantum communicator guiding her toward an unknown destination. She didn't know where she was going, but one thing was clear. Her life had just become a lot more complicated. Emily sprinted across the desert, her boots kicking up clouds of dust as she ran. The armored figures from the ship were fast, their movements unnaturally smooth, as if they weren't entirely human. She could hear their heavy footsteps behind her, the hum of their weapons charging up. Her heart pounded in her chest, each breath burning in her lungs. The quantum communicator in her hand buzzed urgently, its screen flashing with a new set of coordinates. It was her only hope. She spotted an old, rusted car parked near the edge of the gas station. Its tires were flat, and the paint was peeling, but it looked like it might still run. Emily yanked the door open and slid into the driver's seat. The keys were still in the ignition, as if someone had left in a hurry. She turned the key, and the engine sputtered to life, coughing and wheezing like it hadn't been started in years. Come on, she muttered, gripping the steering wheel tightly. The car lurched forward just as a blast of energy hit the ground where she had been standing moments before. Emily swerved, the tires skidding on the loose sand. She pressed the accelerator, and the car shot forward, its engine roaring in protest. The quantum communicator projected a holographic map onto the windshield, showing a glowing point ahead. A voice, calm but urgent, spoke through the device. Emily, you must reach the portal. It's your only way out. Portal? What portal? Emily shouted, swerving to avoid another energy blast from the Dominion ship. The car rattled and shook, but she pushed it to its limits, her hands gripping the wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. The voice continued. The portal will take you to the Nexus, a place between worlds. But be warned, once you enter, there's no turning back. Emily glanced in the rearview mirror. The Dominion soldiers were gaining on her, their ship hovering ominously in the sky. She could see the portal now, a swirling vortex of light and energy, like a tear in the fabric of reality. It was both beautiful and terrifying, a gateway to the unknown. No turning back, she whispered to herself, her voice trembling. She thought of her father, of the life she had left behind, and of the countless questions still unanswered. There was no time to hesitate. With a final burst of speed, she drove straight into the portal. The world around her dissolved into a blur of colors and sounds. She felt weightless, as if she were floating in space. The car vanished, and she was alone, surrounded by swirling lights and strange, echoing whispers. For a moment, she felt a sense of peace, as if she were being cradled by the universe itself. Then, with a sudden jolt, she landed on solid ground. The air was cool and crisp, and the ground beneath her feet felt strange, almost spongy. Emily opened her eyes and gasped. She was in a world unlike anything she had ever seen. The sky was a deep shade of purple, with two suns casting an eerie glow over the landscape. Strange, bioluminescent plants swayed in the breeze, their leaves glowing softly in the dim light. In the distance, she could see towering structures that seemed to defy gravity, their surfaces shimmering like liquid metal. A figure approached her, a tall, slender being with shimmering skin and eyes that glowed like stars. The being moved gracefully, almost floating, and when it spoke, its voice was melodic and soothing. "Welcome, Emily Parker. We've been waiting for you." Emily stood up, still clutching the quantum communicator. "Who are you? Where am I?" The being smiled, its expression kind but enigmatic. "I am Leora, a member of the Resistance. You are in the Nexus, a place between worlds. Your father was one of our greatest allies, and now you must take his place." Emily shook her head, her mind reeling. "I can't. I'm not a soldier. I don't know how to fight." Leora placed a hand on her shoulder, the touch warm and reassuring. "You don't have to fight alone. We will teach you. But first, you must understand the true nature of the war and your role in it." Emily looked around, taking in the strange, beautiful world around her. She thought of her father, of the life she had left behind, and of the danger that was still out there, waiting. She didn't know what lay ahead, but one thing was certain. She couldn't turn back now. She had to see this through, no matter where it led. "Okay," she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "Tell me everything." Leora led Emily through the Nexus, the ground beneath their feet glowing faintly with every step. The air was filled with a soft hum, like the sound of distant music and the bioluminescent plants swayed gently as if greeting them. Emily couldn't help but stare at everything around her. The towering structures that seemed to pulse with energy, the strange creatures that flitted through the air like living sparks of light. It was beautiful, but also overwhelming. She felt like she had stepped into a dream or maybe a science fiction movie. "This place, it's incredible," Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I still don't understand. What is the Nexus? And what does it have to do with me?" Leora glanced at her, their glowing eyes filled with a mix of sympathy and determination. "The Nexus is a bridge between worlds, a place where dimensions overlap. It is here that the Resistance has been fighting to stop the Dominion from enslaving all of existence. Your father was one of our greatest warriors, Emily. He sacrificed everything to protect not just Earth, but countless other worlds." Emily's chest tightened at the mention of her father. "He never told me any of this. He never even hinted at it. How could he keep something so huge from me?" Leora's expression softened. "He wanted to protect you. The less you knew, the safer you were. But now that the Dominion has found you, there is no more hiding. You must take up his mantle." Emily stopped walking, her hands clenched into fists. "I'm not a warrior, Leora. I don't know how to fight. I don't even know how this thing works." She held up the quantum communicator, its surface still glowing faintly. Leora placed a hand on the device, their touch causing it to hum louder. "This is more than a tool, Emily. It is a key to the heart of the Nexus. Only someone with your father's bloodline can activate it. And when you do, it will unleash a power capable of stopping the Dominion once and for all." Emily's eyes widened. "What kind of power?" Leora hesitated, their glowing eyes flickering with something Emily couldn't quite place. "The heart of a Nexus is a source of infinite energy. It can be used to seal the portals between worlds, cutting off the Dominion's access to Earth and every other dimension they seek to conquer. But it comes at a cost." "What cost?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "Once activated, the heart will destroy the Nexus," Leora said quietly. "This place and everything in it will cease to exist. The portals will close, and the Dominion will be trapped in their own dimension. But it will also mean the end of the Resistance. And for you, there will be no way back to Earth." Emily felt a chill run down her spine. "So if I do this, I'll be stuck here? Forever?" Leora nodded. "Yes, but you will save countless lives. Your father believed in you, Emily. He knew you were strong enough to make this choice." Emily looked down at the quantum communicator, her mind racing. She thought of her father, of the life she had left behind, and of the people, no, the worlds that depended on her. It was an impossible choice, but deep down, she knew what she had to do. "Okay," she said finally, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "Tell me what I need to do." Leora smiled, a look of pride in their glowing eyes. "First, we must reach the heart. But be warned, the Dominion will do everything in their power to stop you. They know what you carry, and they will not let you succeed." As if on cue, the ground beneath them began to tremble. Emily looked up and saw a dark shape moving across the sky. A Dominion ship, its sleek, metallic surface glinting in the light of the two suns. The hum in the air grew louder, more menacing. "They're here," Leora said, their voice tense. "We must move quickly." Emily nodded, gripping the quantum communicator tightly. "Lead the way." Leora took her hand, and together they ran toward the towering structures in the distance. The heart of the Nexus was close, but so was the Dominion. Emily's heart pounded with every step, her mind filled with a mix of fear and determination. She didn't know if she was ready for what lay ahead, but she knew one thing for certain. She couldn't turn back now. The fate of countless worlds depended on her. Emily and Leora ran through the Nexus, the ground beneath their feet glowing brighter with every step. The air was thick with tension, the hum of the Dominion ship growing louder as it closed in. Emily's heart raced, her grip on the quantum communicator tightening as they approached the towering structure that housed the heart of the Nexus. It loomed ahead like a massive crystal, its surface shimmering with a kaleidoscope of colors. It was beautiful, but also terrifying, a symbol of both hope and destruction. "We're almost there," Leora said, their voice calm but urgent. "But we must be careful. The Dominion will try to stop us at any cost." Emily nodded, her breath coming in short gasps. "What happens when we reach the heart? How do I activate it?" Leora glanced at her, their glowing eyes filled with determination. "You must place the quantum communicator into the core of the heart. It will recognize your bloodline and respond to your command. But be warned, the process will not be easy. The heart will test you, Emily. It will show you things that may shake you to your core." Emily swallowed hard. "What kind of things?" Before Leora could answer, a deafening roar filled the air. Emily turned and saw a group of Dominion soldiers emerging from the shadows, their armor gleaming in the eerie light of the Nexus. They moved with a terrifying precision, their weapons glowing with a menacing blue light. "Go!" Leora shouted, pushing Emily toward the heart. "I'll hold them off." Emily hesitated, her heart pounding. "But there's no time," Leora interrupted, their voice firm. "You must reach the heart. The fate of countless worlds depends on you." Emily nodded, her chest tightening with fear and determination. She turned and ran toward the heart, her legs burning with effort. The quantum communicator buzzed in her hand, its screen flashing with a message. Asterisk, proceed to the core. Asterisk. As she reached the base of the towering structure, a wave of energy washed over her, making her skin tingle. The ground beneath her feet began to glow brighter, and she felt a strange pull, as if the heart itself was calling to her. She climbed the steps leading to the core, each one humming with power. The air grew thicker, the hum louder, until it felt like the entire world was vibrating around her. When she reached the core, she saw it, a glowing, pulsating orb suspended in the air, its surface swirling with colors and light. It was mesmerizing, but also overwhelming. Emily took a deep breath and held up the quantum communicator. "Here goes nothing," she whispered. She placed the device into a slot at the base of the orb, and the moment it clicked into place, the world around her dissolved. She was no longer in the Nexus. She was standing in a vast, empty space, surrounded by swirling lights and shadows. A voice echoed in her mind, deep and resonant. "Emily Parker," it said, "you have come to activate the heart. But are you prepared for the consequences?" Emily looked around, her heart pounding. "What consequences?" The voice continued. "To activate the heart is to sacrifice the Nexus. It is to sever the ties between worlds, to destroy a place of infinite beauty and possibility. Are you willing to bear that burden?" Emily hesitated, her mind racing. She thought of Leora, of the resistance, of the countless lives that depended on her. She thought of her father and the sacrifices he had made. And she thought of herself, of the life she had left behind and the future she might never have. "I am," she said finally, her voice steady. "If it means stopping the Dominion, if it means saving countless worlds, then I am willing." The voice was silent for a moment, as if considering her words. Then it spoke again, softer this time. "Very well. The heart will respond to your command. But remember, Emily Parker, this choice will define you. It will change you." The swirling lights around her began to fade, and Emily found herself back in the Nexus, standing before the glowing orb. The quantum communicator was now fully integrated into the core, its surface pulsing with energy. She could feel the power of the heart coursing through her, filling her with a sense of purpose and resolve. But before she could activate it, a voice shouted from behind her, "Emily, look out." She turned and saw Leora running toward her, their glowing eyes filled with panic. Behind them, the Dominion soldiers were closing in, their weapons raised. Emily's heart skipped a beat. There was no time to waste. She took a deep breath and placed her hand on the core. "I'm ready," she whispered. The heart responded, its light growing brighter and brighter until it filled the entire Nexus. Emily felt a surge of energy, a wave of power that seemed to come from deep within her. The ground shook, the air hummed, and for a moment, everything was still. Then, with a deafening roar, the heart of the Nexus activated. The moment Emily placed her hand on the core of the heart, the world around her exploded into light. The energy surged through her, filling every fiber of her being with a power she had never imagined. It was overwhelming, like holding the sun in her hands, but also exhilarating. She could feel the nexus itself responding to her, the very fabric of this strange, beautiful world bending to her will. But as the light grew brighter, the ground beneath her began to shake violently. The towering structures around her started to crumble, their shimmering surfaces cracking and collapsing. The air was filled with the sound of roaring energy and the distant screams of Dominion soldiers as they were consumed by the light. Emily's heart raced, her mind struggling to process what was happening. "Emily!" Leora's voice cut through the chaos. They were running toward her, their glowing eyes wide with fear. "You have to stop. The Nexus, it's collapsing." Emily turned to them, her hand still on the core. "I can't stop it. This is what the heart does, isn't it? It destroys the Nexus to seal the portals." Leora reached her, their expression a mix of desperation and sorrow. "Yes, but it's happening too fast. If you don't control it, the energy will tear apart everything, including you." Emily's stomach dropped. She looked down at the quantum communicator, now fully integrated into the core. Its screen was flashing rapidly, displaying a countdown. *10, 9, 8*, what do I do? Emily shouted over the roar of the collapsing world. Leora placed a hand on her shoulder, their touch warm and reassuring despite the chaos around them. "Focus, Emily. The heart responds to your thoughts, your emotions. You have to guide it. You have to control the energy, or it will consume everything." Emily closed her eyes, trying to block out the noise and the fear. She focused on her breathing, on the feel of the core beneath her hand. She thought of her father, of the sacrifices he had made. She thought of Leora, of the resistance, of the countless lives that depended on her. And she thought of herself, of the strength she had found within, the courage to face the unknown. The countdown continued. *7, 6, 5, "You can do this," Leora said softly. "You are your father's daughter. You are stronger than you know." Emily took a deep breath and opened her eyes. The light around her began to stabilize, the energy flowing more smoothly. The ground stopped shaking, and the collapsing structures froze in place, as if time itself had paused. "It's working," Emily whispered, a spark of hope igniting in her chest. But then, a shadow moved in the corner of her vision. She turned and saw a Dominion soldier emerging from the chaos, their weapon raised and aimed directly at her. Before she could react, the soldier fired, a blast of energy hurtling toward her. "Emily, look out!" Leora shouted, stepping in front of her. The blast hit Leora square in the chest, their body glowing brightly before collapsing to the ground. Emily's heart shattered as she dropped to her knees beside them. "No, Leora, no!" she cried, tears streaming down her face. Leora looked up at her, their glowing eyes dimming. You have to finish it, Emily. For all of us." Emily's hands trembled as she placed them back on the core. The countdown continued. *4, 3, 2. She closed her eyes, her tears mixing with the light of the heart. "I'll make this right," she whispered. "I promise." With a final surge of energy, the heart of the Nexus activated fully. The light grew so bright that everything else vanished, consumed by its brilliance. Emily felt herself being lifted off the ground, the energy surrounding her like a cocoon. For a moment, there was nothing but light and silence. And then, everything went dark. When Emily opened her eyes, she was no longer in the Nexus. She was standing in a familiar place, her apartment. The sun was rising outside, casting a warm glow through the windows. The quantum communicator was in her hand, its screen dark and silent. She looked around, her heart pounding. Had it all been a dream? But as she turned the device over in her hands, she noticed something etched into its surface, a symbol, glowing faintly. It was the same symbol she had seen in the Nexus, the symbol of the heart. Emily took a deep breath, her mind racing. The Nexus was gone, the portals sealed. The Dominion had been stopped. But at what cost? She thought of Leora, of her father, of the beautiful world she had destroyed to save countless others. She walked to the window and looked out at the city, the familiar sights and sounds grounding her. Somewhere, in another dimension, her father and Leora were safe. And Emily knew that, no matter what, she had made the right choice. But as she turned away from the window, she couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end. The quantum communicator buzzed softly in her hand, its screen flickering to life. A new message appeared. Asterisk, the heart is not lost. It lives within you. Asterisk, Emily stared at the message, her heart racing. What did it mean? And what would happen next? The end? Or was it just the beginning? Emily stood in her apartment, staring at the quantum communicator in her hand. The message on its screen, asterisk, the heart is not lost. It lives within you. Asterisk, sent a shiver down her spine. She turned the device over, her fingers tracing the glowing symbol etched into its surface. It pulsed faintly, as if in rhythm with her heartbeat. The weight of what she had done, what she had sacrificed, settled heavily on her shoulders. The Nexus was gone, Leora was gone, and yet something felt unfinished. She walked to the window, the early morning light casting long shadows across the room. The city below was waking up, people going about their lives, completely unaware of the battle that had been fought to protect them. Emily's mind raced with questions. What did the message mean? Was the heart still active? And if it was, what did that mean for her? As she stood there, the quantum communicator buzzed again. This time, a holographic image flickered to life above the device. It was Leora, or at least a faint, shimmering echo of them. Their glowing eyes met hers, and for a moment, Emily's breath caught in her throat. Emily, Leora's voice said, soft and melodic, just as she remembered. You did it. The Nexus is sealed, and the Dominion has been stopped. But your journey is not over. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Leora, I thought you were gone. I thought I lost you. Leora's image smiled gently. I'm not gone, Emily. The heart has preserved me, just as it has preserved a part of itself within you. When you activated the core, you didn't just destroy the Nexus. You absorbed its energy. The heart is now a part of you. Emily looked down at her hands, her mind reeling. What does that mean? Am I still human? Leora's expression softened. You are still you, Emily, but you carry the power of the Nexus now. You are the bridge between worlds, the keeper of the heart. And with that power comes great responsibility. Emily shook her head, her voice trembling. I don't know if I can do this. I'm not a hero, Leora. I'm just me. Leora's image reached out, their hand hovering just above hers. You are more than you know, Emily. Your father believed in you. I believe in you. And now, the heart has chosen you. It is not a burden you must carry alone. There are others like you, others who carry the energy of the Nexus. Together, you can protect the balance between worlds. Emily wiped her tears, her resolve hardening. Others? Where are they? How do I find them? Leora's image began to fade, their voice growing softer. The quantum communicator will guide you. Trust it as you trusted me. And remember, Emily, you are never alone. The hologram vanished, leaving Emily standing in silence. She looked down at the quantum communicator, its screen now displaying a new set of coordinates. It was pointing to a location far away, somewhere she had never been. But she knew, deep down, that this was where she needed to go. She packed a bag, her movements quick and determined. As she stepped out of her apartment, the quantum communicator buzzed again. This time, it displayed a simple message. Asterisk, the journey begins now. Asterisk, Emily took a deep breath, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. She didn't know what lay ahead, but she knew one thing for certain. She was ready. She had faced the impossible and come out stronger. And now, with the power of the Nexus within her, she would face whatever came next. As she walked down the street, the sun rising behind her, Emily felt a strange sense of peace. The weight of the heart was still there, but it no longer felt like a burden. It felt like a purpose. She didn't know where this journey would take her, but she knew she wasn't alone. Leora was with her Her father was with her, and the heart, now a part of her, would guide her every step of the way. The end, or perhaps just the beginning of a new adventure. Here is the story ends. If you enjoyed and want to watch more thrilling sci-fi adventures, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Dive into epic battles, explore distant galaxies, and join brave heroes as they fight for survival against impossible odds. Let us know in comments if you want next chapters to publish soon. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and become part of the journey. Together, we'll keep the last light burning. Subscribe now and let the adventure continue.